Welcome to Carlton's Math Corner. Today we're going to continue our study on point slope form. At this point, please make sure that you have your math journal, your vocab packet, as well as something to write with. Our target today is I can convert point slope form to slope intercept form. Okay, so what do you notice? Here's the first example, and right away we have an equation that is written in point slope form, and we need to get it to slope intercept form. So what steps do you notice? Well, I notice that the y minus 3 remains the same. So y minus 3 is the same on the left side, equals. On the right side, I notice that it looks like we have to use the distributive property. So we got to introduce that negative 3 to x and to positive 2. And here's the result. We get negative 3x minus 6, because negative 3 times a positive 2 is negative 6. So one way to write that is just put a minus 6. Because remember, subtraction is the same as adding negatives. Then I notice after that, in order to get it as y equals mx plus b, I notice that the lonely term right here is being moved over to the right side. And in order to do that, we did the inverse operation. So instead of minus 3, we put plus 3. And so I'm going to add plus 3 onto the other lonely term that's over here. Notice it's not added onto the x term because they're not like terms, so they can't be added together. But these two, the negative 6 and the positive 3, they are like terms, so they can be added together. So negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. And then this negative 3x stayed the same. And then we have y equals. And so now it is in slope intercept form. So what steps did we do? Well, the first step we used, we distributed the slope. So negative 3 right here is the slope. So negative 3 times x and negative 3 times 2. Then we moved a term to the other side. So we moved, in this case, we moved the lonely term to the other side. And then that was it, because then we already had it in slope intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So what I would like you to do is I want you to try some problems for tomorrow. But notice some of these have fractions in them. And so remember, the first step that we need to do is distributive property. Well, it's easy to distribute something that is like a whole number or an integer, but a fraction makes it a little bit more difficult. So take, for instance, number 3. I will help you set this one up just so that we're all starting off on the right page. So I chose number 3 to do because it has the most fractions in it. So let's start off and do number 3. Well, our first step is, keep the y minus 1/3. And I'm going to write 1/3 like this because it's quicker for me when I'm typing. And then now I need to distribute 5, 6. That's my slope. So I need to distribute that to the x and to the 2/5. So 5, 6 times x is just 5, 6x minus, and now I need to remember, how do you multiply fractions? Now remember, in order to multiply fractions, all I do is I multiply straight across. And before I do that, I can always simplify. Well, if I multiply straight across, I notice that 5 and 5 I can simplify because one's a numerator and one's a denominator. And 5 goes into itself once, so I can put a 1 here and a 1 here. I also noticed that 2 and 6 can simplify as well. 2 goes into both of those. So I'm going to cross that out and cross that out. And 2 divided by 2 is, whoops, 1. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now I can multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. And 3 times 1 is 3. So I get 1/3. So this is what I end up with. Now I think that at this point, you should be able to move the lonely term over to the other side and see what answer you get. Thank you so much for joining me at Carlton's Math Corner, and I look forward to meeting with you again.